Is there a link between serial killers and serial cheaters? Yes. And it lies primarily in the shared psychological traits. I used to tell my ex sometimes that he reminded me of Ted Bundy, someone who was charming, manipulative, and played the victim in order to garner sympathy, just to destroy you. So, this is specifically due to their disregard for the rights of others, their lack of empathy, and the pursuit of power and thrill. And that's kind of what I had mentioned to my ex, that, the reason he reminded me of a serial killer is because, they go out and look for a victim, they target a victim, and then they get close to that person, and then, proceed to, take them and tie them up or do whatever, and then eventually kill them. And when they kill them, it's a very thrilling, exciting experience. Similarly to how my ex would be, getting excitement from the deception of cheating, the planning it, the sneaking around. It's like if he wasn't being deceitful, it wouldn't have the same effect. Risking, getting caught, or coming home, hours later and seeing if I would believe his lie. And if you believe it or you pretend to believe it, there's more excitement for them. So very similar, very disgusting. But while one action is criminally violent, the other is a betrayal of trust. Both behaviors stem from the same dark triad personality traits of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. The breakdown of the connection between serial killers and serial cheaters is the shared psychological profile, the lack of empathy, lack of remorse. They often lack the ability to care about the emotional impact of their actions on others. And anyone that's dated a narcissist or psychopath will know that firsthand, because, you could be crying, just confused and so upset, and they can just look at you kind of with a blank stare and then just go about their day. It's incredibly strange, a strange thing to witness. Their narcissism and entitlement, serial cheaters and killers often share an inflated sense of self-importance. So they believe they deserve special treatment or that they're entitled to violate social norms. Or they might justify, because my ex, for example, would make up, justifications on why he, did what he did. Oh, we had an argument. Oh, I was being mean to him. None of the justifications were valid. And even if they were, you don't go and cheat on someone because you have an argument with them. I said otherwise, I would have been cheating on him since our first month together. That's not how relationships work. And with serial killers, I recall the interview with Ted Bundy, and he said, well, I asked them to help me, and they did. So, they were too vulnerable and too nice, and that was just, their way of telling me it was okay. It was okay to kill them. And, it's like my ex has a similar thought pattern. And it's very, what's the word? Disorienting, discombobulating to find out, when you're dating someone like that. But then to really start piecing it together and realize how closely related their brain is to a serial killer and how they say similar things as far as their justifications is very creepy. And their Machiavellianism. So they can manipulate you and they don't care. Both behaviors involve high levels of calculation, deception, and the ability to act charming to hide their true predatory nature. So that's the way my ex got me to date him. He acted so nice and charming, and he really put on a show. Similar to Ted Bundy, when he would put a brace on his arm and act like a victim that needed help. And he would ask these women to help him, get something out of his car or whatever. And when they did it, boom. Now, the narcissist isn't quite that quick because they're playing a different sort of game. The narcissist, the dark triad, they're playing a long game. So they want to continue drawing supply from you for as long as they can. While the serial killer is more impulsive and does it and gets the thrill. Kind of like the cheating, kind of like the serial cheating. They do it, they get the thrill, and then go on about their day. Highly disgusting. It's disgusting to even think about that. It really is. Ugh. There it is. Behavioral patterns. Thrill seeking and control. Serial cheaters often view infidelity as a game for the thrill and power, similar to how serial killers seek control over their victims. Calculated deception. Just as killers plan to avoid detection, serial cheaters often are master planners, and they use lies and sweet talk to manage multiple partners. That really just makes me want to just throw up. It's just so sickening. Oh my God. Compartmentalization. Both often separate their normal lives from their hidden lives, allowing them to lead long-term double lives. And that was so just gut-wrenching and heartbreaking to find out. And I would notice, on these days when he was just missing and wouldn't give me any explanation, or he'd give me some lame excuse, and he would be gone for like 1 to 2 days. But he didn't really ever talk to me during that time. And that's because what I found out during, studying these things is they actually put you into a different compartment, like a storage box or a folder in their brain. And when they're not with you, they close that folder and they have the other folder open for the person that they're with at the time. And then when they leave that person, they put that person in their folder and close it, and then they reopen yours when they come back home. I used to question this the most because I would say, how could you do that? How? And he didn't understand what I was talking about. And I'd say, where was I? I wasn't on your mind at all. I mean, you were laying there with someone for days, doing things with them that, I mean, are just beyond what any normal person would do. And I mean, where was I in your mind? You weren't thinking about me at all? He said no. And that's why he would put me on do not disturb. And that way, if as long as my name didn't pop up on his phone, he could forget all about me. It's very disturbing. It's just, it's really just, I'm at a loss for words. I'm incapable of understanding it. Really, I am. I understand from reading it, but I don't understand how someone could actually be like that. It's just so disturbing. Potential for escalation. While not all serial cheaters become murderers, the psychological, narcissistic, and entitled mindset of a serial cheater can, in extreme scenarios, escalate to violence. In some cases, a serial cheater may murder a partner or lover to maintain their lifestyle and avoid the consequences like divorce. I watched a crime show very similar to that just a couple days ago. And this man murdered his wife because he wanted to be with the, the other person that he was dating or sleeping with. And in order for him to maintain that sense of power and control over her, he couldn't let her go. So what he did was he murdered her and buried her under one of the bedrooms in his house. So him and the new wife were living there for 20 years before it was found out. So they were essentially living on top of this woman, and he knew about it. Every day that he woke up, he knew that his first wife was buried under the floor, and he could just walk around like that, like nothing. And during the court hearing, he said something like, I was just having a bad day, and I took it the wrong way. I took it too far. I'm not a psychopath or a sociopath or anything like that. And the judge, you should have seen her face. It was like, you know what? She was like, you know what, sir? Murdering your wife and burying her under the house and living on top of her for 20 years so you can get some sick sense of power and control over her because you couldn't let her go and be happy with her life is the definition of a psychopath. And she's like, I wish I wouldn't have agreed to give you the 40-year term. But he was old by then anyway, so I mean 40 years, I mean shit, he's going to be dead in 20 or less. But still, it's amazing how psychopaths don't think that they're bad people. They think they're good people. My ex used to say that all the time. He'd be like, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. And I would say, good people don't have to tell you that they're good people. It's just displayed in their character and their actions, consistently, daily. But similarly, Ted Bundy did that same thing during his trial. He said, but I'm not a bad person. I'm a good guy, and these women, they were like, mostly street walkers, or, they didn't really have a family. You see, so he's justifying it the whole time. It's like, holy shit. I mean, you can read about it and you can watch it, but it's just so far beyond anything you can comprehend. Sometimes I shake my head and I'm like, I can't believe I dated someone like that. I mean, I dated someone who's insane. Mask of Sanity. I was on the right track. Both serial killers and serial cheaters often present a charming, normal, or even loving facade to the public, while ruthlessly manipulating or destroying lives behind closed doors. And, that's what happens with the smear campaign and why they start it before they ever break up with you. They're trying to get ahead of the game and get people to believe their version of reality. So, later on, when you start speaking out and people don't believe you. And I thought it was very strange. I didn't think it was going to play out the way it did, but I even have text messages and videos from security cameras, and some of the stuff I showed to people and they were like, they didn't care. They still wanted to believe the lie. So I started putting that into my psychology research. And, it's more common than you would imagine, because a lot of people would rather believe the lie because it's easier, or they know a different version of that person because they only know that person on a surface level. They've never lived with them or dated them. So they don't see it. And when you show them something, they think it's, out of context, or, oh, that's just, he was just having a bad day. They try to justify it and gaslight themselves. So in conclusion, a serial cheater can be seen as operating on a similar psychological spectrum to a serial killer, but focusing their need for control and gratification on sexual or emotional betrayal rather than murder. They're both deeply, deeply disturbed and disgusting individuals. I almost want to feel bad for them sometimes, but they deserve no mercy. They deserve the life that they get. And, it's not usually a good one, but that's exactly what they deserve. For all of the pain and suffering and damage that they cause, they need to have that paid back to them.